Hey, Nick.
Thanks for being here. We'll start on time. I know they'll start recording it too as well.
Perfect. Well, this was a good sound check then.
Yeah, you sound great.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the news briefing for this Wednesday. My name is Maya Carroll. I'm a public information officer for the County of Monterey. For our first topic, I am going to be joined by Nicholas Pasculi. He is our County Communications Director. We're having two speakers on for our first topic, and I'm going to let Nick begin this conversation. Hi, Nick.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the briefing today. Just as a reminder, this is a news briefing, and we will be allowing for questions and answers at the end of the various different conversations and topics. If you would please put your questions in the chat or raise your hand at the appropriate time, and we'll be happy to get to those questions. And again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nick Pasculi, the County Communications Director. The County of Monterey is working on getting information into the community of Gonzales about a tax rate correction that's currently underway. This relates to School Bond Measure K, which was approved by the voters in 2020. An error caused some incorrect tax repayments, and the problem has been caught and corrective measures are taking place. Here to explain what's being done is Auditor Controller Rupa Shah with some members of her team from the Auditor Controller's Office. And then after Rupa, we will be hearing from Jake Stroud, who's the Assistant Treasurer Tax Collector for the County of Monterey. And now I'm going to hand it back to Maya, who's going to address the questions for the Auditor Controller's Office. Maya? You're on mute, Maya.
Thank you, Nick. And thank you, Nick. Rupa, thank you so much for joining us on the news briefing today to talk about this topic. I'm wondering if we could start with some questions for you. First, I'm wondering if you could explain the role of the Auditor Controller once the voters approve a bond measure.
Sure. I'm happy to. Again, Rupa Shah, the County of Monterey Auditor Controller. And I am joined with my team members today, Mamon, who is the Disbursement Division Chief in my office, and Jennifer Forsyth, who is the Property Tax Manager in our Property Tax section of the office. And so, yes, I'm happy to take that first question, which is relating to our role in the office, in the Auditor Controller's Office, after the voter approved the bond measure. So the County Auditor Controller calculates the bond repayment tax rate for levying with the property taxes. It then allocates the taxes collected to those levying agencies countywide and then makes the payment of the bonds.
Oh, thank you. And I think that was such a great and succinct description of what that role is. Now, can you go further and explain? Yesterday, this issue came before the Board of Supervisors, and a tax correction was discussed. It's a correction for the tax rates for the Gonzales Unified School District.
Right. So yesterday's agenda item was to actually seek the approval from the board of the corrected bond repayment tax rate to address the error that was discovered in the bond repayment tax rate calculation for the Gonzales Unified School District. So the district has two areas, the district-wide and there's a School Facility Improvement District, which we call SFID. The error in the Auditor Controller's Office actually caused the district bond tax rate not levied in the district-wide area. However, the SFID area was over-levied from fiscal years 2021-22 through 24-25. So it's a 4 years duration period. And the county is planning to issue bills to under-levied and refunds to over-levied parcels using the corrected rates that we got approved by the board yesterday.
Rupa, can you go into exactly how this administrative error occurred and what systems were in place at the time that might have prevented this from happening?
Yeah, I will have Jennifer address that area. Jennifer?
Instead of calculating the bond repayment tax rate for two separate areas within the district-wide and the SFID, we inadvertently calculated only the tax rate for one area, the SFID. So we have an internal review process in place, but we have implemented additional staff training and a more robust review process.
Thank you, Jennifer, for explaining that. Could you explain, and I'm not sure if it's you or Rupa could explain, when the error was discovered and what steps did the Auditor Controller's Office take to, right after learning about it? What happens?
Yeah, my disbursement division chief Mamon will address that question.
Yes, I will answer that question. Yes, the Auditor Controller's Office discovered the error in January 2025, and we promptly initiated the thorough investigation to confirm the error and then assess the scope of the error and then potential impact of the issue, and then start engaging with the software vendor and work on identifying the best possible solutions at that time. And then beginning in late April to June, the auditor's office started engaging with the county tax collector's office, county council, and then county CEO team to start coordinating the correction processes.
Thank you. So now that we've identified this, what can you tell people about how confident you are that there are no similar errors in other bond measures?
So following the discovery of the error, the Auditor Controller's Office undertook a review of both the current and prior bond assessments to determine whether, we had any similar issues that existed. We discovered that, we didn't have any additional discrepancies that we identified to date, and we acknowledge, the importance of continued due diligence and are committed to ongoing review efforts to maintain the public confidence. And to ensure that this doesn't happen again, our office has implemented several key changes, including a thorough review of the bond tax rate calculation and reconciliation process. And we're also enhancing coordination with school districts and bond consultants during the tax levy process. And we're retraining staff on comprehensive bond review procedures. And then in addition, the Auditor Controller welcomes an independent audit of the bond repayment calculation process.
And I'm glad you brought up the auditor, because I think you, Rupa, you might have mentioned a third-party auditor. How will your office work with this third-party auditor?
Yeah, for that one, the county administrative office will engage with an independent third-party auditor to review and provide the processes in my office and provide recommendations.
Thank you. And then as far as the people who are affected by this, the parcels that are affected by this, have they been identified? And is there an estimated total financial impact on either overcharged or undercharged property owners?
Yes, so the impacted parcels have been identified, and we estimate the total financial impact of the 4 fiscal years is 1.8 million. For about 850 parcels being undercharged and about 485,000 for 2,100 parcels being overcharged.
And have all these, you've identified the parcels, but will the property owners, what is next steps for them? Will they automatically get a refund? Do they have to contact you? What is this next step?
So property owners who are over levied, they do not need to apply for a refund. The refunds will automatically be processed by our office. And then for the people who are undercharged, they will be receiving corrected property tax bills in the mail.
Can you also explain for those people who are going to get them how the reimbursement will be processed and how long property owners might expect to wait, when they might see those?
I'll take that question, Maya. So the Auditor Controller's Office will be working with the software vendor to process the refunds, and it expects to mail out the refunds to the property owners by September 1st, 2025.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Nick Pasculi. He is going to talk with Jake Stroud, our assistant treasurer tax collector.
Thank you, Maya, and thank you, Auditor Controller team, for answering those questions. Obviously, with a situation like this, it involves other departments within the County of Monterey, and we're fortunate to have with us Jake Stroud, as I mentioned earlier, the Assistant Treasurer Tax Collector for the county. Jake, what role does the County Treasurer Tax Collector's Office play in correcting these overcharges and undercharges?
Yeah, good question, Nick. Good afternoon, everyone. Jake Stroud, Assistant Treasurer Tax Collector, as introduced. Um, our office is going to be responsible for the undercharges. So our office of the Treasurer Tax Collector is responsible for billing and collection of the corrected taxes. So once that rate is corrected by the Auditor Controller, that's where our office comes into play. And we have been working on some billing strategies to try to minimize taxpayer confusion because we understand this can be a confusing time, especially to receive bills for 4 different years. A few of the things that we've done to do that is, first of all, we're going to make sure a letter accompanies the tax bill with an explanation. Our friends in the Auditor Controller are helping us with that letter so that customers receive their tax bills will understand better why the tax bill is being received. And there's all kinds of other communication, obviously, going out with Nick helping us frequently asked questions and other things to try to give individuals that are affected the information that they need to understand the situation. A second aspect that we're very aware of is that we know that the earlier individuals are made aware of this, kind of the better, and that including as much as we can the full obligation that's due. So we are working fast and furious this week to try to get at least that first bill out. And then we anticipate the other 3 bills for those individuals that are receiving bills could be out as early as kind of mid-July, just given other priorities that are going on with fiscal year end and things like that. A third strategy related to this question, I would say, is that we are extending the due dates as far as possible. And in addition to them being extended as far as possible, we're able to extend them to very familiar property tax due dates of December 10th and April 10th. So we're hoping that helps alleviate some of the confusion regarding our work.
Great. Thank you for that, Jake. So obviously your office is going to be handling the payments for their charges. And of course, we know it may cause some undue hardship on some of the folks in that area. Are fees and penalties or interest being waived on these undercharges?
Another good question. Another objective that we have regarding payments is to minimize any potential financial burden. Again, along with the potential confusion of receiving 4 tax bills, also adding those up and understanding that can be a financial burden on individuals. So we want to do everything we can to try to assist in that aspect as well. Our first tool that we kind of have at our disposal that we believe fits a limited provision within state law is a pay plan. And we will offer that to individuals that are eligible. Individuals that are eligible will receive an application with their bill in the mail. And I did just want to kind of overview some of the eligibility requirements in case individuals listening to this are wondering. First is that the bill would be over $500. Second, our office needs to receive a written request for a payment plan from the customer. So simply filling out the application that will accompany the bill and sending that back to us would suffice. And then a little mechanics of the payment plan. It requires a 20% down payment and then the remaining 20% every year for the next 4 years. So kind of 20% payments. And as you asked about penalty and interest, there's no penalty and interest with the payment plan. And we are actually also waiving the typical fee that it takes to enter into a payment plan with our office. And the only other requirement that I would mention is that individuals on a payment plan do need to stay current on their other taxes as they come due over those 4 years. And if individuals unfortunately don't qualify for a payment plan because they don't meet all of those criteria, there are many other payment options available on our website, or you can contact our office to talk through those things. We'll try to help find something that fits your financial situation. Credit card is an option, possibly even contacting your mortgage lender to see if they could adjust the amount to an impound account if you have one of those to help kind of smooth out that amount and not have it all due at once.
Terrific. Thanks, Jake. And obviously this is an important situation for people to know that we're making every accommodation possible to lessen the burden on the individual taxpayers in the community. Okay, the next question for you, Jake, is so is the county treasurer tax collector's office implementing strategies to communicate and manage repayment plans equitably? I mean, in other words, obviously we're going to be working with the communications bureau on putting out bilingual messaging and things of that nature. What else do you think might your office do in order to help facilitate this?
Yeah, that was going to be my first point, Nick, is pointing to your office and all the help that you all are doing with the county to inform individuals, like you said, multiple channels, multiple languages. We really appreciate that. I also did reference kind of the state law that we have to abide by when it comes to a payment plan and how the application will accompany the bills. So hopefully that communication will make things as simple as possible. And beyond that, I think one of the best things that someone could do is if they have questions or concerns and regarding payment options, they would want to contact our office to discuss the financial situation that they have with us. We are hoping to help the majority of individuals that may have large obligations and the greatest financial need.
Great. And to that point, I did bring up as you were talking the website. I also wanted to point out that not only is this information available on the Auditor Controller's website, but it is also on the homepage of the county's website. And there's a number of ways to get to that information easily. First, there's a green banner on top, which has a hyperlink to take people right to the Auditor Controller's page, as well as down partway down the homepage of the website, there's another area that says Measure K bond repayment tax rate correction, and that's also clickable and takes people right to the page that has not only FAQs, but has the phone numbers for people to call both in the Treasurer Tax Collector's office and the Auditor Controller's office. It has a news release, a copy of the news release that went out yesterday, notifying the community, and the sample letter that will be coming out from the Auditor Controller's office. And then finally, we do have some other tools available, which we are utilizing on social media to help educate the public as to what's going on with this situation, and a scannable QR code to take them right to this page, as well as the map of the area that's affected. So there's a number of steps that are going on through the county communications office in conjunction with the Auditor Controller's office and the Treasurer Tax Collector. Jake, I want to thank you so much for those very good answers, and stick with us. And obviously there may be some questions from our partners in the media. May, I'm going to hand it off back to you, and we'll see what questions come up.
Thank you both. Now, for those who are wanting to put in questions, you're welcome to raise your hand, or you can put your question in chat. I do have one question that came in. Why did it take multiple years to discover this error? And that, I think, Rupa, I think that's a question for you.
Sure. I'm happy to take that question, and thank you for that question. So Auditor Controller's office is truly regretful that this error was not discovered sooner. However, we have taken immediate actions to remedy the error, and we have implemented additional processes for early detection and future prevention here on now.
Thank you. And is there a message that your office would like to send to some of these property owners? A lot of people may be saying, well, I was overpaid for a while. Now, that's not good. And now I've been underpaying, and now I'm going to get a bill. What message do you have for them?
Yeah, so we want to make sure that we have full transparency from here on out, and we are able to answer property owners / community questions. We are able to provide them full information to understand the information that they will be receiving, such as the billings for the under-levied and refunds for the over-levied. So we are undertaking a comprehensive process to support the property owners that will be receiving this information from the county, as well as providing additional information to guide through this process. And the Auditor Controller's Office engaged in our due diligence in the early stages of the discovery of the error. And we are now very confident that we have identified the full scope of the error, and we have involved the appropriate stakeholders such as the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office. Of course, the communication office of the county has taken a heavy brunt of doing the communication in this regard, so that the public has as much information available as possible to sort through this process. And so if there's any further question relating to the transparency or the process of the underbilling, overbilling, undercharging, overcharging, we are happy to help answer those questions. But I do want to state also that start within the fiscal year and by June 30. So let me just take step back and say by June 30 of 2025, so within the next few days, the county has a plan to issue the bills for under-levied portion of 21-22, fiscal year 2021-22 only, through the tax collector's office. So the notice letter that was shared by Nick Pasquale earlier, thank you, Nick, addresses that portion of the process along with the future planned processes that we have in place, which will entail issuing property tax bills for the under-levied portion for fiscal years 21-22, so 22-23, 24, 23-24, 24-25 within the next couple months. We are aiming to complete that process in the month of September. So September 2025 is when the property owners can expect to receive additional bill. As far as the over levy, we have a plan in place and protocols in place to issue refunds to the over levied properties. And that process is planned to be completed in the month of August. And that process will be undertaken by the Auditor Controllers, by my office, by the Auditor Controller's Office, and the taxpayers do not have to take any steps. It will be an automatic refund process that will be executed by my office.
Rupa, thank you so much for going into that detail, because I think that's what people really want to know is, when can I expect it? And there are 2 tracks and 2 resolution tracks for both of those people. And as a reminder, the website is always available. We're going to go ahead and post the website in the comments. When those of you who are watching on Facebook and on YouTube will go ahead and post that link there for you to find it as well. And again, the phone numbers are there for people who have questions. There's also an email if people don't want to call, but they have questions. There's also a dedicated email also that people can email their inquiries.
Yeah.
Any last questions? Go ahead, Nick.
I've posted those in the chat as well already for the people watching, as well as the people who will watch afterwards. It's also important to note that the county has been in constant communication with the city of Gonzales and the Gonzales Unified School District, and also providing tools to help them with the communication, messaging, and outreach within their own community. So this is a full team effort to ensure that the entire community is getting the information they deserve and need in order to get through this situation.
And if I can add one more, just it's been addressed, but I want to stress the importance of the phone line that has been generated. All the phone calls that will be received in my office will be, we are ready to address those phone calls. And yes, earlier Nick Pasquale had shared that information, but I just want to reiterate that we have a designated phone line to answer questions and provide additional information from my office.
Thank you, Rupa, and thank you, Nick, for bringing that up to remind people of those numbers. Again, we'll go ahead and post them in the comments below the social media posts of this video, so people will have easy access to it. Appreciate. Thank you, Rupa, and thank you, Jake, and thank you, Nick, for assisting me on this very important topic. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On to our next topic this afternoon. There is some new information related to the Moss Landing Vistra Power Plant fire recovery. Very pleased to have Rick Encarnacion with our Environmental Health Bureau at the Health Department to give us an update. Hi, Rick. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks, Maya. Good afternoon, everybody. Rick Encarnacion, Director of Environmental Health for the County of Monterey, your local health inspectors. Your local health inspectors here, we're not going away with the Moss Landing Vistra Power Plant issue. We're still following up, continuing our work with our federal, state, and local partners. We have our community sampling plan ongoing. What's new is the county did approve funding for a toxicologist, an expert to help look at our work, provide recommendations, and help us guide in our next steps. With that, the work continues for ensuring that there's proper cleanup. And as your local health inspector, like I mentioned, we're still here. We're going to make sure that the responsible parties are accountable for proper follow-up. And we're also here to answer questions. And I'm going to put the links that have been made for our web pages and also a phone number and contact information for anyone to call us so that they can get some useful information. With that, I'll be ready for questions.
Rick, thank you so much. And if you have questions for Rick, go ahead and put them in chat. Rick, I'm wondering if you could describe a little bit about what the toxicologist will do. You described it as checking your work. What might that entail?
Sure. Well, what they'll do is they'll make sure that they'll review our, in particular, all the work that we've done. So for all the information, the public information that's been put out with respect to our community sampling plan, they'll review it for completeness, see the quality of the available data. They'll also identify if the data set kind of fits our upcoming report for our human health assessment, and also make recommendations if any additional sampling is needed. This is something that we're going to be looking at for a while, and making sure that we do the proper follow-up. And as your local authority for health and regulations, we'll make sure that we'll do the proper follow-up. And if there's anything new that comes up, like say like there's any new laws, rules, or regulations, we'll be there. But the toxicologist will provide that independent expertise that is being sought for, that the board recommended that we do. So that's the role of the let's call them an outside toxicologist to look independently at our work.
Thank you. And I'm really glad you put the link to the dashboard in the chat, and we'll go ahead and post that for people who are watching on social media as well. How is the response to the dashboard going? We have seen that it has gotten a lot of views.
Yes, it's great work. It's a good testament for transparency. It is work that will provide information in a visual and a map format. It's information, right? It's information that what we know, so people will know what we know, and will help us guide what actions we need to take in the future. And so far, I've heard some positive reviews. And again, those contact information that's posted in the chat and will be made available will also provide us if anybody has any feedback on it, to make it more easier to use, or if there's any questions on the data, or see what we can do to add on. As your local service provider for health and regulations, we try to be as transparent as possible. In times of an emergency, information is very, very important. Official information is very important. And then in the aftermath with the cleanup and ensuring that there's accountability, it's also very important to be transparent as we move forward and seeing what kind of recommendations may come about, if there's any new rules or regulations that may come about, whether at the local, state, or federal level with regards to this pretty significant incident that happened here in our county.
And there is a lot that's going to happen in the coming months. And possibly in the coming year. So and we know we're going to have you back to talk about that. Rick, thank you so much for keeping us posted on, people want to know what's happening there and we want to keep them informed. And I appreciate you.
Will do. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. All right. Well, 4th of July fireworks, they're coming. And in fact, in some neighborhoods, they're already happening. And this is the time to get your pet prepared. Don't wait. We're very pleased to have Cindy Burnham with Hitchcock Road Animal Services here to talk about those 4th of July preparations. And those fireworks can really be a danger to pets. Cindy, I'm really glad you're here.
Hi, Maya. Thank you. Hi, Cindy Burnham, Hitchcock Road Animal Services. I've got some slides to share. I will. All right. So yes, July 4th holiday tips and reminders, because July 4th comes around every year, and every year shelters across the nation, we're not exempt from that, fill up with pets who get lost. So we wanted to put out some reminders and also share some things that we're doing to hopefully make it easier for pet owners to get their lost pets. So some reminders, please do not wait until next Friday, July 4th. As you stated, Maya, fireworks are already happening in every community, and they're going to continue to happen for weeks after. So plan now. If your pet needs medications, if they're reactive, please start preparing now so you're not caught off guard. A lot of vets close on the holiday as well, so you want to get in there early. Make sure your pet is updated and current ID to include a microchip and ID tag. If you're not able to get a microchip at this point, does your dog or cat have ID on it? And even if you don't have time for get an ID tag, we've had pets come in with Sharpies, with people use Sharpies to write a phone number on a collar. People get pretty creative. And just wanted to also make sure, do you have a current photo of your pet on your phone? Take a selfie, and I'll explain why that's important later. If you're going to be home during the holidays or in the next couple weekends, secure your pet. Have you checked that fence? If you let them to go potty and a firework goes off, are they safe? Doors, windows, white noise can help. I know I leave the TV on, even if, we're just going out front or hanging around, just so that it's not super quiet. It kind of helps to minimize the loud sounds. If you are going away for the holiday, this is, if you get anything from this, who is caring for your pets, and do they know what to do if your pet gets scared? It is your responsibility as a pet owner to ensure their safety in your absence. A lot of pets have anxiety and freak out when their mom and dad, their parents, leave, and then you leave them in the care of a stranger or somebody who's not them. And I think that's part of why we see a lot of pets escape. Does your pet sitter know if your pets are reactive? They need to know this. Does your pet sitter know the plan if your pet should escape? This happens a lot. We get a lot of pet owners who call us after the holidays to say, my pet got out, my pet sitter didn't tell me. And then when we talk to the pet sitter, or they say, well, I didn't want to bother your vacation. Please bother my vacation if my pet gets out. So make sure they know the plan. Make sure that they have something from you saying they can reclaim your pet. Make sure they know if your pet is sensitive to fireworks and what their plan should be. It is very important, but it happens every single year. So wanted to highlight that. So at Hitchcock Road this year, we're going to have a couple special hours, and we're also going to be waiving some fees for a certain amount of time around the holiday to help make it easy for pets to reclaim their animal, or owners to reclaim their pets. So Friday, July 4th, on the holiday, we have staff that will be here from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Just to come reclaim their pets. If your pet's gone out in the last week, including this weekend, please come out, because we know this weekend and the following weekend are probably the big weekends for fireworks. And then the rest are our open hours, but we are open with the exception of Sunday and Monday. We are open every day. We are going to be open on the holiday. And from July 1 to July 11, we are going to be waiving all fees for pets reclaimed by their owners within 48 hours. And we say within 48 hours because we want you to get here as soon as you know your pet's missing and not to wait. Because we do get in a lot of pets this time of year, and we want to get yours back to you as quick as possible. So that's why I know your pet sitter knowing what to do. Um, but we will waive all fees. This includes impound, boarding, licensing, vaccine fees, and this does apply to first-time pet um, visitors, I guess. If it is something where your pet's been here on multiple occasions and your, animal control is working with you, these fees may not apply, but we know accidents happen. We know as a lot of times, things just happen. And we want to acknowledge that and help folks out if we can. So what if your pet ends up in the shelter? If your pet is wearing an ID or has a chip, that's the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to call you. We're going to email you. We may text you. So it's important. That's why we say, is the information current? If you do come in, we are going to ask for photo ID to prove who you are, because we want to prove that, your pet is going to the right person. I know I would want that. We are going to ask you to prove that this is your pet. Do you have current photos? So that's why having a selfie with your pet, having current photos on your phone is helpful. Medical or vaccine records, we're going to ask for those. A lot of times we'll get in a 4 or 5-year-old dog and the only picture somebody has is when they were 8 weeks old. Take a current picture now if this is a reminder so that you have it on your phone. And also take a picture of those records so that you have them and can easily find them. We will need to verify a current rabies vaccine. If your pet is older than 4 months of age, that's required by local and state laws. So again, have a copy handy of that rabies vaccine, or we will have to vaccinate it before the pet leaves. We are waiving those fees, but that is something that we still have to take care of. And then if you have a dog and it's in our jurisdiction, doesn't have a dog license, it will when it leaves here. Again, we're waiving those fees, but we want to make sure everybody leaves here in compliance with local laws. How do you know if your pet is in the shelter? All of our pets are listed on our website. So I kind of showed the pictures of how you click in. You go to hitchcockroadanimals.org. You're going to click on the lost and found. It'll take you you can pick dogs, cats, or other animals. And then you can click through and see all the pictures. So that's an easy way to look. Our Facebook page, we also have an amazing volunteer who will post strays at the end of every day of new animals that have come in. You can also come here and check yourself. You're the best one to identify your pet. And so you can come in Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 5, and then also 4th of July from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. If your pet is lost, start searching immediately. Talk to neighbors so they're aware. Post on social media. The more people that know your pet is missing helps. It's also, kind of old school, but post a flyer. There's not one that works best. It's how often and how much you can get it out there. If there's a microchip, notify the company. Report it to us. Look at the shelter. Don't give up. Scared pets can hide, or sometimes people bring them inside. So cats usually stay pretty close. They hide and they stay. Dogs tend to wander. So they kind of get lost in different ways. But we do have some quick tips, videos, and links. If you just text the single keyword 831 LOST to 1-833-664-0513. And again, the single keyword, then you'll start getting links and tips and some really great videos on the differences between cats and dogs when they're lost. That can help you. We also have the same program for if you find a pet, tips on how you can help get that pet back to its owner. It's 831 found to 1-833-664-0513. But the first thing is, can you get it back to its owner first? Sometimes we all know our neighbors' dogs. Can you go knock on their door and say, hey, Sparky's got out, you want to come get him? Sometimes accidents happen and we want those pets to go back. But if you can't find their owner, you're not able to hold it, then we are here. And again, I just wanted to go over our special hours. We're open July 4th from 9 a.m. to 1, and July 1 through 11, we are waiving fees for owners that come and get their pets within the first 48 hours. And with that, there's our contact information, and I am available for any questions.
Cindy, thank you so much for walking us through all this, because this happens every year. We see within a few days after 4th of July, your social media post blows up with photos of the number of pets that are in the shelter. We did get one question in. You talked about vaccinations. If an animal does come in and they have to be, somebody has to come pick them up, they need to show proof of vaccination. Excuse me. If they have a current license, that would show that they have a rabies vaccine. Would that suffice, or should an owner have a copy of all their vaccinations, including rabies?
The rabies is the one that's required by law. If the dog's currently licensed with us, then we would have that on file and we can look that up. We vaccinate on intake for things like distemper, parvo, bordetella, because that keeps our shelter herd healthier. So that is our protocol. So the one that we would be asking for is the rabies certificate. But again, if it's licensed through us, we would have that on file and it's a current license, but perhaps you live in another jurisdiction, we wouldn't necessarily have that record.
And also, collars get lost. And if your tag is on your collar, that you may not have that. If your dog is chipped, would the chip show a current license?
Not necessarily.
Okay. So better safe than sorry. Have this information at hand just in case you need it, sounds like.
Yeah, and we find the best way for people is take a picture of it. Then you can pull it up. Or we find a lot of people are doing that, and that's helpful so that you don't have to have that paper. Because a lot of vets close during the holidays. So we will try to contact a vet office if we can to validate it. But they're not always open when we need them to be.
Thank you, Cindy, and how great it is that you're open that extra day to help get those pets out of there in anticipation of the inevitable.
Yep, we want to get as many back home as quickly as possible.
Thank you, as always, for being here. Appreciate
No
it.
problem.
And finally, we'd like to spend the rest of the time on the news briefing today to talk about perhaps a lesser known but very important program designed to reduce the number of families which are involved in the welfare system who might be experiencing or at risk of homelessness, as well as preventing foster care placement. I'm very pleased to have Eva Jeronimo here from our Department of Social Services to talk about the Bringing Families Home program. And she's got an update on the program for us as well. Hi, Eva.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. Yes, as Maya had mentioned, that Bringing Families Home is a program that specifically has supported some housing needs and housing stability related needs for families that are entering child welfare or as a form to prevent out-of-home care. As a county, we received an allocation from the state, and we worked in partnership with Housing Resource Center to be able to ensure we were providing those funds to families as quickly as possible. In the year 2023 through 2025, we were able to support with 150 total people. That includes 60 adults and 90 children in various situations. I also do have we were able to connect with families that received this support. And one of the families shared that due to their circumstances, they had what the husband was in a recent accident and he had broken his neck and was no longer able to work. So he was going through a disability process temporarily. They were really having a hard time. They were going back and forth through to the hospital. They shared that the program really supported them in having a roof over their heads, a place to sleep, as being in a shelter was difficult because of her husband's medical needs at the time. So they were able to work through having a storage place and then go through the process to become housed. So they now have an apartment that they're living in, and they're calling it home, and they're able to raise their children. And so that's just one of the examples of the support that this specific program has provided to families and children in Monterey County. I do also have an update that I just received right as I was jumping on this news briefing. We received the final budget update from the state, and it looks like we will receive continuing funding for the next 3 years. So it is still a one-time grant, block grant, but it looks like we will continue to receive it for the next 3 years. And with that, we'll continue to be able to offer these supportive rehousing and additional resources to families in this county.
Well, that was a close call. I think you had a different story to tell just a few hours ago, right?
I did. And I think that's thanks to the advocacy of the county and different branches. We've been submitting letters to the state, to legislature, to really advocate for this resource.
And Eva, why would you say this program works? Because there are a lot of wonderful programs, and a lot of them work, and some of them work better than others. Many are good. Why did this one have such a good success? I mean, we're talking 150 people out of homelessness or out of at risk for homelessness, which is exactly what we want to have happen.
I think that it worked in part because of the collaboration with our community resources through Housing Resource Center, through various messaging to our families that we know may be entering to the child welfare system, and really looking at what additional resources can we put together for the family to ensure that whatever challenging circumstances they may be experiencing, we're really looking one outside the box, either through case management support and follow-up, but also with the ability to have this grant that allows us to also provide things like support with storage so they can hold their belongings, and then really working towards specific goals and planning.
And Eva, I'm wondering if you could tell people how those in need, or how those get into the program. How do they get into the program? Is it with caseworkers, through your office, or in another way?
It's through it's specifically for families that are at risk of having their children removed from their care, so at risk of out-of-home care. So in a way, they would have to come to our attention for safety concerns. So that's really the one way in which we would work with them through this program.
But for people who are in that situation, who are working with your office, oftentimes homelessness can be a situation in which the child could need out-of-home care, and this might resolve that one issue. There certainly could be other issues, but this could resolve that one thing.
It's through the referral that the social workers make as they're meeting with the families to really have the conversation about what are the safety concerns, what's worked well before, what are the barriers, what resources does the family need. So it's through those conversations with the social workers that then we're able to create a referral.
We don't often get a glimpse into behind the scenes work that social workers do every day. And just knowing that this is a tool in their kit of opportunity for families, it's really heartening to know. And congratulations on getting some good news. Yeah. A couple of hours ago, you said no funding. A couple hours later, funding.
Correct.
Excellent. Congratulations. And hopefully we continue to hear good numbers from you on this program. Appreciate it. Eva, thanks very much for sharing with us about the program.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks everyone for joining us on the news briefing. Our next briefing is next week. We'll see you then.